こんにちは。
I need everyone to know that we might be watching the greatest athlete of all time in his prime right now. Shohei Ohtani this week lowered his season ERA to 0.74 while raising his batting average on the year to 301. And that is why we do This Week in Shohei Ohtani news every single week, and this week perfectly exemplifies that. Since 2021, Shohei Ohtani has 243 home runs. Only Aaron Judge has more. Since 2021, Shohei has 40 triples. Only Corbin Carroll has more. And since 2021, Shohei Ohtani has a 2.60 ERA. And that is the best in all of baseball for all starters. And this year, on the mound, Shohei Ohtani, through 10 starts, has the third lowest ERA ever through the first 10 starts of a season. Ever. That is unbelievable. And this, my friends, is everyone's favorite segment this week in Shohei Ohtani news, where the day after he pitches, every single week, we talk about the week that was from Shohei Ohtani. And this week was absolutely remarkable. I feel like it was 3 weeks ago. Everybody was saying Shohei Ohtani was hitting like 230, 240, and they were saying what they do every year. Shohei needs to stop hitting to just focus on pitching because he's better at doing that. It's every single year we have the same conversation. Shohei needs to stop doing X to focus on Y. Shohei needs to stop doing Y to focus more on X. And this year it was the hitting, stopped, and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Fast forward 3 weeks later, and he's hitting over 300 with a 941 OPS. It's absolutely remarkable. And he has done it again this week, my friends. Let's start on the mound as we do every single. So please hit that subscribe button. It does really help. And leave a comment. I promise I will comment back to you guys. Let's start on the mound. This week, he's coming off of a game with 6 no-hit innings. 6 no-hit innings against the Rockies last week. And this is his 10th start of the year. So far, he had gone 8 of 9 starts with 6 or more innings. We'll make that 9 of 10. This week, he was great against the Arizona Diamondbacks division rival. Here's the difference this week. His command hadn't been great the last couple of starts, even though his ERA is minuscule, and he talked about it after his last start. He said, I'm not feeling my best. My fastball command is not where I expect it to be, and his fastball command was certainly better this week. He was 6 up, 6 down through the first 2 innings of the game, continually not giving up a hit, and then going into the next inning, the third inning, he was again 3 up, 3 down, making that 9 up, 9 down, no hits on the game, meaning 9 consecutive innings without giving up a hit through the first 3 innings of this game. Look, so since the start of May, I found this interesting. Since the start of May, coming into the game, hitters were 1 for 37 against Shohei's sweeper. 1 for 37. And he has doubled his usage. He threw the sweeper 20% of the time in the month of April. Since the beginning of May, 40% of the time. So he has doubled his sweeper usage. And to me, look, that says a couple things. One, his sweeper's unhittable. We know that. It's unbelievable. Of course you want to throw it more. But the big takeaway from me is that his confidence in his .74. 6 strikeouts on the night, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, and 1 walk. On the year now, he's first in all of Major League Baseball. He leads all of Major League Baseball in ERA. He leads all of Major League Baseball in opponent batting average. 6th in all of baseball in innings pitched per game, which is huge to see out of Shohei. And of course, 1st in all of baseball in home runs given up per 9. He just doesn't give up hits. Certainly not giving up many homers. In his last 3 starts prior to this, he was 3-0 with a .5 ERA. And now he's 4-0 with less than a .5 in his last 4 starts. So he's been fantastic on the mound. And just once again, he continues his Cy Young campaign on the mound. And there is a legitimate Cy Young discussion. For those that don't know, Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies is doing absolutely remarkable. Had one of the best months for a starting pitcher that you will ever see. didn't give up a single run in the month of May and ended up having the 5th longest scoreless inning streak of all time and the longest ever for a left-handed pitcher. He is disgusting and doing really well, and he is not part of a 5-man rotation. Or he's not part of a 6-man. He is a part of a 5-man rotation. So he gets more innings. He gets more starts. He's going to get more strikeouts. All of that stuff does matter. Shohei, part of a 6-man rotation, only pitching once a week, really only pitches on Wednesdays, meaning this week in Shohei Ohtani news has mostly been on Thursdays. But Shohei's been great on the mound, and if he continues this level of dominance, and again, it doesn't need to be a 0.74 ERA, but if he continues something close to this level of dominance, I do think he will and can win the Cy Young Award. Just right now, he's not the favorite because of what Christopher Sanchez is doing, getting more innings and more strikeouts as well. But I don't think there's an argument if he continues dominating as much as he is right now on the mound.
Ohtani. I mean, last night, another incredible performance. He ends up going 3 for 4, reach base 5 times, 6 scoreless innings. He lowered that ERA to 0.74. Fabian, just seeing Shohei on the mound, see him in the batter's box. What was your biggest takeaway from last night?
Where's the power? I'm just kidding. No. He's playing great right now. Like, he really is. Like, and this is crazy to talk about. Like a month ago, we were talking about how much it really seemed like he was hitting the wall physically, and it's one of those things that we talked about at the time. He's gonna push past it, and then all of a sudden you catch a second win. And he looks like a guy who's catching a second win. Obviously, he's gonna have a day off today on Thursday, but right on the mound, he's been lights out all year long. Like the stuff has been really good, even when the command hasn't been as sharp the last couple of starts. Like the stuff is just so good that you're just not going to hit him. And then offensively, like he seems like he's tapped into something offensively. He's swinging the bat as well as he has all season. Even earlier in the year when he was kind of doing the on base streak, he was doing it kind of in spite of his mechanics, maybe not feeling as good. Now you're sort of seeing him well rounded, and honestly, like. He didn't have the quick hit for average last year the same way he does right now. He did in 24, and he looks a little bit more like he did maybe at the end of 24, where, yes, he was slugging. Obviously, you don't get to 50-50 without slugging, but, like, it was the singles, it's the doubles, it's the triples, it's being able to get your bat to whatever pitches that are hittable in a given game, and also knowing when to take your walks. And I think yesterday was a perfect example of that. Like, that is as good of a game as he's played this season. And you saw it, like just all the different ways that he can sort of beat you. And you saw it, like just all the different ways that he can sort of beat you.
Yeah, look like more of a leadoff hitter with those singles to get those walks. But Jerry, I mean, what do you make of Shohei's night?
I agree with Fabian. I think that was one of his better nights doing both. Obviously, he had an incredible game in the NLCS when he pitched 6 scoreless, 10 strikeouts, and those 3 bombs. But for him to be consistent now at the plate, and we said it earlier, was it fatigue? Was it, does he need to get his second win? Was he hitting a wall early in the season? That could have been a factor. But I know what was the factor was his mechanics at the plate. Anytime you're flying open, that caused you to drop your barrel, you have no chance at the plate. And that's what happened to Shohei Ohtani. Thankfully, he was able to fix it and correct it. Now he's staying square. When you're staying square as a hitter, you're able to cover the fastball, really cover every pitch. You see him going the other way with authority, hitting those line drives, and you see him not chasing as much. And when he doesn't chase, he's going to draw his walks. And for him to do what he did on the mound, I know that his last outing, 6 innings, no hits, he was extremely frustrated with himself. Those free passes, he wasn't in command. I think he was effectively wild that night, and he knows that. He knows that, listen, I got to be better if I'm going to be able to make sure I continue on this run as a pitcher. Boy, did he correct some things on the mound last night. Complete command, dropping that slow breaking ball at times to go along with that riding fastball. When he has all his pitches working, I say it all the time, he's a nightmare to deal with as a hitter, because you don't know what pitch you're going to get and what velocity you're going to get at any point in the count. So it's just too much for a hitter to cover. And it was just so fun to watch him do both successfully last night at the plate and on the mound.
Which is absolutely remarkable. I said it before. I'll say it again, because we're going to talk about offense. And just a few weeks ago, I feel like we were sitting here saying, Shohei, You all know this. I know all of the watchers and listeners of This Week in Shohei Ohtani News believed in this, but everybody was freaking out about his hitting, saying he needed to just, look, you're having a Cy Young year. Just focus on pitching. Clearly, your hitting is taking a back seat to your pitching. And look, he is certainly giving more focus to pitching this year, but Shohei wasn't a 230, 240 hitter. Now, fast forward just a few weeks, and he's hitting 301 on the year with a 941 OPS. Shohei, towards the beginning of May, had 2 games off in a row from hitting. He did pitch in one of those games, but he didn't hit in back-to-back games. And since that stretch, coming into the game Wednesday, and those 19 games since then, Shohei is hitting 462 with a 1.266 OPS, 4 home runs, 13 extra base hits, 17 RBIs, 15 runs scored in those 19 games. Tack on 3 hits on Wednesday and his 20th game and a couple more runs, those numbers get even better. Shohei's been great offensively. Now, again, Dave Roberts did tell him that he was not going to play on Thursday, but he was once again going to be in the lineup on a game that he pitches as well, coming off of back-to-back starts where he also hit, but he hit a homer in each of those starts, both historic homers, might I add. But he told them that this was an empty the tank game, and this might have been Shohei's best game of the year. The power wasn't there. He had a bunch of hits, but no power. But I still think with 5 times on base, he ended up raising his average, rocketed from like 240 to 301 on the year. And I think Dave Roberts deserves a ton of credit for this. I really do. I think Dave Roberts in the last 2-3 years has become an exponentially better manager. And part of that is learning how to manage Shohei Ohtani, who is not an easy guy to manage. Not because he's the greatest player of all time, and he's an unbelievably kind human. It's not like he's going to tear you apart in the locker room by any means. But he wants to play every day. He doesn't want to come out of the game. He doesn't want to not start offensively. He doesn't want to come off the mound. And he doesn't want off days. So when he's struggling, he's not going to go up to you and say, hey, I need a day. So, in fact, if you go up to him and say, I'm giving you a day, he's not going to be happy about it. So what Dave Roberts has done, I think he deserves a lot of credit for getting Shohei out of that slump offensively and a lot of credit for what he's doing on the mound with him this year. You know, the Dodgers have a 6-man rotation because of Shohei. Because it's his first full year back on the mound, Dave Roberts said, I'm going to go to a 6-man rotation, and Shohei's basically going to pitch once a week. What they're used to in Japan and MPB. And it just so happens a lot of the guys in the rotation and Yamamoto and Sasaki are also familiar with that situation. And you're doing this because of Shohei and said you're doing this because of Shohei, but what has resulted is the entire rotation being better and going deeper into games. In 2025, the Dodgers' starting pitching rotation averaged 4.84.
Have you ever seen anything like a Shohei Ohtani, even down to the Little League where you guys were going to pitching and playing shortstop and catching and all that stuff at the same time? Like the amount of talent that this dude has. Just kind of talk about seeing the unicorn day in and day out.
Well, you have a million people at the Little League level that can do this. Then as you go up the pyramid of sports and you get near the peak, of course, there's only one. There's him. But where do they start to fall off? They really start to fall off around college because high school coaches let their best athletes do both. They're in the game no matter what with their bat, with their arm, on the mound, at shortstop. At college, you see a few. And there's few more now that Shohei's doing what he's doing, and the big leagues are grasping and really hugging the two-way player because it expands their roster. And I think that, but one of a kind. He's one of a kind, and it's not only one of a generation. It might be one of a lifetime for people, and it could be once every 100 years we see somebody. And I don't mean somebody's going to do it both ways, but somebody's going to do it at an elite level. And elite is not an easy word to say, but you can say elite for him on both sides of the ball, and you're not stretching it.
Well, I've been accused on this podcast.
Young or the MVP. And fans that are listening, you can be angry that you're hearing it, but you need to remember that you're hearing it. And I'm not asking you to be okay with hearing it, but you can't ignore it. You can't deny it, because let's just say Christopher Sanchez was also doing what Ohtani was doing offensively. How would you feel about that? What if Mizorowski was doing what Ohtani was capable of doing offensively? How would you feel about that? You would have something to say about that. You would wonder why nobody would be talking about it every day. How come we're not talking every time these guys take the ball? How come we're not talking about what freaks they are because of what they're doing on the mound and what they're doing at the plate? So we don't need to have another one of those conversations. Just a little nudge, just a gentle reminder. Don't get tired of the greatness we have been blessed with as baseball fans that is Ohtani. Don't get tired of it. Enjoy it, because when it's gone, you're never going to see anything fucking like it ever again. All right?
I vividly remember when Ubaldo Jimenez went on his run to start the season as a pitcher.
13
right?
wins?
That was a
13
flashball. That was a flashbulb moment in like my baseball, like my late childhood, early adulthood career. Like as far as baseball goes, like I will never forget like where I was, what I was doing. Just for the record, he started 15-1.
Elite, like the best. He's the best at both. It's fucking crazy.
It's unprompted. Unprompted, Ohtani's name comes up daily. It happened yesterday, and I'm so glad you asked that question, because it happened yesterday in the bullpen. I'm watching bullpens, right? I'm watching guys play catch. I'm watching the guy who threw a bullpen yesterday warm up on the field, talking to guys who are playing catch, and one of them asked, is Ohtani going tonight? He goes tonight. That guy's fucking unreal, right? Just simple, just in that kind of context. That's the pitching group. I walk over after the bullpen is done, get to the cage, and I'll even say this for context. We only had 2 groups hit yesterday, and one of the groups was a half group. So essentially 6 guys took BP yesterday. Well, within that group of 6 guys, Ohtani's name brought up again at the plate. It might be a down year for him offensively, but isn't it crazy to think that what he's doing offensively is still like a down year? And the dude, and he was like, and doesn't the dude have like a fucking sub-1 ERA right now? So you have the pitchers who were like, this dude's an absolute fucking freak on the mound. And you have hitters who also know what he's putting together, but also very aware of what he's doing on the mound as well.
He has a 165 OPS plus this year.
That's right. He had a bad couple weeks early in the year. People were like, I don't know about this. When everything underneath the hood screamed like, this is Shohei fucking Ohtani. Have some respect.
Yeah. He leads the league in on-base percentage and has a 165 OPS plus.
on the field, he will never ever, the respect for what he does and what he's capable of will never wane. It just simply won't, because guys that play this game at this level each and every day know how hard it is to go out and post in their respective roles. They could never dream of doing both, and not only doing both, but doing both to the extent that he's doing. You know how
I don't want to get,
when you walk off the field and Will Smith, like, this is the quote he drops after the game. He's the best player that's ever walked this earth. Like, these are guys, a 3-time All-Star. It's not, but for it just to come out and you have to give your flowers, like Torey Lovello talking about it too, and just being like, if there was a league that could exist above Major League Baseball, that's where Shohei Ohtani should be. And still, he'd probably dominate everyone in that league too. Like, baseball minds, they can't process how insane this guy is, and I'm happy to hear him get his flowers to this degree, because very rarely does someone deserve to be spoken about this or like this after every single outing. He is that guy. He deserves to be talked about like that, and I hope this new resting schedule with him is unlocking another level, because he's not going to play today. He gets the full breather, but the fact that he's still doing this and getting better and better over time, it's just, you don't even understand what the ceiling really is anymore. And maybe it's just never attaching a ceiling to Shohei Ohtani, because this is a man that, passes or goes way beyond all of that, no matter whatever a normal human being could typically do or even think to do.
I don't want to give Dallas another reason to talk about Shohei's contract and what a tremendous value that is. And we're not going to spend another 30 minutes doing that, of course. But I do. It struck me that, like, obviously the on-field stuff is great. The off-field, like his off-field bankability is untouched. We all know that. But like, I was thinking about it while we were talking about it. And like, if you would have ranked star power, star wattage in Major League Baseball prior to the start of the season, or really just even right now, Ohtani would be number one, obviously. We all agree there. And I think Judge and Paul Skeens probably would have appeared 2 and 3, or maybe 2 and 4, whatever, probably that order. And Shohei Ohtani by F4 has been as productive as both of those players, Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens, this season combined. And I know that Paul Skeens has been mildly disappointing and Aaron Judge has been disappointing and is now injured, but that's also kind of the fucking point. Like that he is such a guaranteed value proposition on and off the field that the other two guys who would even sniff his level of popularity in Major League Baseball, at least stateside, would have to add their own production together to be Shohei Ohtani. And it's just, it's like everything else we've said. It struck me that like the other most popular players were like, oh yeah, we're just still not even in the stratosphere production wise either.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
In 2026, Shohei Ohtani off the field set to make about $125 million through endorsements and other business ventures. Okay? That is higher than the next 9 Major League Baseball players combined. So your top 10, which is Ohtani, and then whatever order you want to put the other 9 guys in, your Judges, your Skeens, your Mookies, your Harpers, you put them all together. Put them all together. Soto, put them all together. They ain't that.
And appreciate every moment of it, because there is going to be a day where it's not sustainable, and he's 31 at this point in time. I don't know. He's already done things that I never thought were possible.
Off. Boo.
No, but that's why you need to appreciate every second of it and talk about it every single day in this way.
Thing I always want everyone to remember. Maybe you're new to baseball. Maybe you're a casual fan of the game of baseball. But what I want everyone to know is that what we are watching right now with Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player of all time in his prime. We have never seen anything like what Shohei is doing before. And we will never see anything going forward like what Shohei Ohtani is doing right now. This is the greatest baseball player of all time, and he's in his prime. And I think we're in the conversation of, is he the greatest athlete of all time? And it's tough to say no. So we're having quite the year, my friends. That is the reason for everyone's favorite segment this week in Shohei Ohtani news. And man, did he show out this week. Offensively, great. Got that batting average to 300 for the first time this year. And pitching-wise, you just can't fathom me coming on here every single week and saying he lowers his ERA once again to blank. But here we are. He's got a 0.74 ERA, which is the third best through the first 10 starts of the season ever. And that is remarkable. And that is this week in Shohei Ohtani news, because he is always doing something every single week, something historic that deserves to be talked about, honestly, every day. But that's the point, and that is why we have always done this week in Shohei Ohtani news on this show.
ここまで見てくれたあなた、本当にありがとう。この動画が少しでも面白かったら、コメントで意見を聞かせてください。そして高評価、シェア、 チャンネル登録も忘れずに。次の動画でまた一緒に野球の熱狂を味わいましょう。